Are you lucky enough to be racing Kona? Well, if so, this is the video for you because in it am delighted to have an age group champion, first female home in 2008, Wendy Mader, who's going to talk through her experience of the course, her learnings from the course, give you all those key hints and tips for the swim, bike, and run to make sure you absolutely make the most of your wonderful experience to the Big Island. So let's just get to it. As I said, just a little introduction about myself. My name is Stephen Moody, or Coach Steve. I'm a Dublin-based Ironman certified coach and also aspiring YouTuber who does these race reviews. So excited to do feature the iconic race that is Kona, and who better to actually talk us through but an actual age group champion, Wendy Mader. Wendy, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Super. So just before we get into all the hints and tips and all that, the background in Kona, how many times have you raced Kona, and big achievement, you actually first female home non-pro in 2008? Don't
Yes,
be
that's
shy here.
exciting. So my first Ironman was Kona. My very first Ironman was Kona, 1997. Back then, you could qualify at a half Ironman, and they weren't even called 70.3s back then. So it was my fifth season. I started, my first year was 1992. My fifth season, I actually qualified for Kona in 1995. I didn't know what Ironman was. And I turned on the slot because I was a collegiate swimmer on a full ride scholarship. And I didn't know if I could do that, train for an Ironman and still be a collegiate swimmer. And I just didn't know how that all worked out. So I passed up the chance to go in 1995 when I was 22 years old. And so I made the commitment that I wanted to qualify when I was 24. Fast forward to 1997, I do my first Ironman. It was an amazing experience, kind of changed my life. Got 10th in my age group, really didn't know what that meant. I really was still naive to the whole thing. And I thought, okay, I want to do more. I want to do more Ironman. And I did one in 2003 and 2007. And it was in 2007 where I went to the awards. Again, I was always like top 20 in my age group. But in 2007, when I went to the awards and I watched a pro Bree Wee be the overall world championship, won the overall world championship as an amateur. I'm like, I want to be like her. I can do that. And at this point, I hadn't even gotten top five yet. So I hire a coach in 2008. He got lucky because he found a great athlete that wanted to, wanted to be coached by him. And just having that accountability and that different style of training that I was doing really just is exactly what I needed to get to that next level. And then in 2008, I went down to that race more confident than I've ever been in my life. I knew I was capable of a sub 10 hours, but no one believed except me that I could do it in Kona. And there we have it. You can see from my photo, I did 9:53:50, won it. 2008, it was really kind of surreal because, back then I didn't really have a big crowd. My parents were there. My mom was meeting me at the finish line, but I really didn't like celebrate the way I would now from winning that event. And then our economy tanked, and I thought I was going to get all the sponsorship because I won, but the economy tanked, and I really didn't get any sponsorship. And that was kind of why I didn't go pro. Everyone asked me, why didn't you go pro after you won? I was 35 years old. I was only getting older, not younger. And because I really didn't solidify any sponsorship, I just wanted to remain an amateur and just live the life of an amateur and have the ability to qualify for Kona again as an amateur.
Wow.
And I've
And
swum that.
it's an incredible story. So, as I said, it's not often I get to interview, was it World Championships on these race reviews. So brilliant. So listen, let's hop into the race. I know, and the guys, everyone's going to be interested to see your tips, like how you can go sub 10 in Kona, how you can actually end up with those gongs, etc. So let's hop into it and just, I can almost feel the crowd just wanting to suck all the knowledge out of your head. So let's see what we can give them. All right, let's start off on the swim. Obviously, this is just a very famous, again, the whole thing is iconic, but your tips for someone in the swim, it will obviously be non-wetsuit, it always is. Tell us a little about what tips you would give to any of your athletes lucky enough to qualify for Kona.
Well, number one, they have a swim called I can't pronounce it right. there's a swim the week before the Ironman World Championship. It takes place on a Saturday. The Saturday week before, there's an actual formal swim. You donate money to raise money for a children's foundation on the Big Island. If you're so lucky to be able to do that a week before the event, you should do it because it just gives you the opportunity with kayaks and safety support to do the swim in a relaxed manner. So you have a feel of the current. There's really not a current, but there is like a little bit of a side wave that you're going to encounter if you're alone. If you're with a bunch of people drafting off a bunch of people, you're not even going to notice the little bit of turbulence. But the first tip I give athletes is to try to go down a week ahead of time to get to that practice swim.
It's the
If you
exact same
can,
swim course, is it?
it's the exact same swim course.
Okay,
And
brilliant.
if you're not able to do that, just swim as much as you can um, before the race whenever you arrive. You don't have to swim the whole course, but there's always going to be, between like 8 and 10 a.m. There's going to be kayak support. There's going to be a place that you can check your gear in and go test out the waters. Test out the high tide, low tide, and just get a feel for what it's like to have salt on your body, to swallow salt water. It's just different if you've never experienced swimming in the ocean. It's important to get that feel of what the salt is going to do to your body. It's going to make you more buoyant. And there's really no need for a wetsuit. I think I swim in the ocean exactly like I would in a wetsuit. I don't kick at all. I just let my legs float behind me and I'm all upper body, making my way around the course. So practice as much as you can. I mean, you're in Kona, take advantage of the opportunity. And so do we want to move on to race day or?
Yeah, no, let's move on to race day in terms of it's I believe they still do wave starts by age group
Yeah.
and the rest.
So, back in 2022, it used to be a mass start originally. Again, the original days I used to do it 1997, 2003, 2007, 2008. It was a mass start. And then a few years ago, I don't remember the exact date, they changed it to pros start first and then men and then women. So they separated pros, men and women. And now they actually do an age group wave start. And so they'll line you up by age group along Alihi Drive along the pier. And I don't remember the time span between each age, a couple minutes.
Hmm.
And I don't, again, as a swimmer, I don't like that. I like going against the men so I could try to find the men to draft off of.
Yeah.
To go in my age group, I don't like that because I'm one of the top swimmers in my age group. So I don't really have that opportunity to try to draft off faster people. So it is what it is. It's still a great swim. And again, it does lessen the congestion to do the wave start, and it is definitely safer.
And it's a
So
floating
just
start though. This way, it's not like any of the other Ironmen. Again, for someone who's qualified for the first time, who would have done a rolling swim start. Is it a
no.
floating start or is it do they all just go in off the beach? How does that
It's a floating start. Okay, so that's a
work?
good point. So a wave's going to go, and then they're going to bring the next age group in, and you get in, and then you go to the start line. There's going to be kayakers, with their boards
Yeah.
lining you up, preventing you from starting, and then each wave is going to have a cannon, and so you're going to be treading water for a little bit. When it used to be a mass start, I would be treading water for like 15 minutes because I'd want to get in and get to the head of the line that, I start front and center. But now you just are treading water for a couple minutes and then your wave goes.
Okay, cool. And in terms of the water quality, as in we've all seen those kind of the cool kind of Iron Man pictures where they're underwater cameras and it just looks pristine. Is it the water quality that clear? Is it
It's very pristine. If you're so lucky enough, you can see a school of dolphins.
oh wow.
You look, I mean, like the last year I went was in 2022, and I took my time and I was actually looking for marine life in there because I've seen School of Dolphins in the practice swims. But it is really pristine. Once you get out there to that turnaround boat, the water blue, it gets a little bit deeper blue,
Hmm.
and then there's less, it's deeper and you can't really see the marine life, but definitely when you're doing your practice swims and you're in more of the pier closer to land, take advantage of the opportunity to check it out because it's so pretty.
Water temperature, is it chilly? Is it warm? Or what should our
It's
fans
fairly
expect?
warm. I mean, It's fairly warm. Like even when you get in, like normally if I get in a non-wetsuit legal swim, meaning it's 76 degrees or higher, I'm still a little chilly when I get in.
Hmm.
This is different. This could be between 78 and 82. And because it's so hot and humid air temperature, it just feels really good when you're to get a little chilly if you first step in, but you don't get cold at all. There's never a point where I've ever been cold swimming in the Kailua Pier.
Cool. And is there any difference in terms of current or whatever on the way out, on the way in, and all the rest? Do you feel different pull or
You
anything?
know, it will vary. I'm gonna say chances are higher that you're gonna feel a little current. You're gonna be against the current on the way out, and you're gonna have more of a tail current wave pushing you back in.
Okay.
When you
Anything
get
else
to the end, when you're getting to the end, it does get a little bit choppier because the waves are pushing up against the dock.
Yeah.
And it does get a little bit more choppier, and I will actually shorten my stroke. It's a little bit shorter and choppier to fight that back current that's splashing back at me.
And in terms of sighting as well, it's a straight line out. Is there, and it's anything that you guys aim for? Is it just keep an eye on the boys, keep an eye on feet in front, or any advice there?
I'm totally going boy to boy. I just try to swim in that straight line that's boy to boy. You know, in the beginning, I'm gonna probably start a little bit more to the left and then kind of veer myself into the line. And then I swim as close to the boys as I can.
Cool. All right. It just seemed like a simple enough swim. Sounds brilliant. Any other last minute tips before we move on to transition?
Um, no, I mean, again, just enjoy it. You know, the hard part's over. You've qualified, you're going. This is the reward for qualifying.
Absolutely. Okay, doke. All right, so transition. So again, this is the way we will come out, as I said, and as you can see, as you mentioned, Wendy, there's the paddle borders that will hold people in place in TP wave, and then that swim start. You're swimming in. You're coming on this side. You're keeping the those boys on your right because I said other athletes will be heading out. Swim finish. Um, are there volunteers helping you out of the water, or is it all self-service, or how does that work?
There are volunteers because you will get out in a ramp and it could be slippery. I think you're going to have to step up a couple steps. So it could be slippery. So there will be volunteers to help you in case you need it. There'll also be like something to hold on to as you're stepping up those stairs. And then it's fairly long run. You know, you're going to make a left and you're going to have to run all the way down. Everyone has to run the same transition all the way down. Um, into getting your bike.
Yeah, and then the again, normally at this point we talk about sort of transition bags for in my other kind of race review videos. Some of them when you've done it myself for Canada, etc. But again, if you qualify for Kona, you know all about transition bags. But the transition bags there, the bike bags are here, and so you
Yeah,
grab
and
your
and you're gonna hang them up. They're gonna be hanging for you according to your bib
brilliant.
volunteers. But again, you always got to know your ins and outs. You'll be able to remind yourself where your transition bag is the morning of. So just remember what row it's in. They'll have showers to kind of clean your body off if you need
Yeah,
that off
showers
hot
are
water.
there. And then, as I said, yeah, do you have access to your bags on race morning, and
So,
bikes on race morning? Great. Okay.
yeah, you will have access to everything race morning. There was one race that I walked in race morning. I had a flat tire. It was an easy fix. I was there plenty of time. I just took it to the mechanic. He changed my flat for me. No big deal.
Fantastic. It's only a big deal if you turn up and it's 5 minutes before the start. Then it's a very stressful deal. Okay, so we're in. We grab our bike bags here again. Take advantage of the shower, as you said. Get some of that salt off. It's going to be hot for the rest of the day. And there is a changing tent. We run in, and your bike racks, numbered bike racks, is standard, or how does that work?
Yeah, standard bike racks, and you're gonna check your stuff in. This is different. So the day before, when you check all your stuff in, you're actually going to be assigned a time that you check your stuff in according to your bib number and or maybe your last name. And you'll have an escort. I don't think they have that at all Ironmans, that you're
Oh
going to be
no.
escorted by a volunteer to help you where to go with your bike, help you hang up your bike bag and your run bag. So that's a little bit different. I think they just treat every athlete a little bit better at the World Championships. And then,
It's the big show, isn't it? As in, like,
yeah,
you gotta love those little touches. As in, this is why it's your time to feel like a rock star and just milk those moments. I'll have lots of selfies
yeah.
escort.
And then they'll volunteers will answer any questions you have. So it's very like low stress in my mind. Like every other Ironman, you just put your bike there. You can't have any, don't put your nutrition out. Just put your bike out, bring your nutrition the day of. And if you forget to put anything in your special needs bag, you'll be allowed to see them again the morning of.
Yeah, perfect. Absolutely, especially with the heat on the Big Island. So, okay, so then our run out flow. There's our what do you call it?
Wait,
Bound.
let me mention one more thing
Oh, okay.
that's a little bit different. So when you walk in the race morning right when you get there, you're going to have your special needs bags if you have anything in them, like special nutrition needs. You're going to walk in and behind the King Kamehameha Hotel, which is now the Marriott Courtyard, and there's going to be volunteers there. They're going to weigh you. They're going to put your bib numbers on you, weigh you, and they're going to tell you, if you have special needs bag, where to dump your special needs bag. So again, get there early so you have time to do all that stuff. So you're going to get rid of all your bags, special needs bags before you walk into transition.
Fabulous. Okay, again, a little slight, but these slight differences are exactly what people who are going to the Big Island for the first time, just to help them. Yes, you said it was low stress, but if it's your first time, you're going to be dead nervous, and like knowing these little things and these quirks, they're perfect. So this is great stuff. Bike mount is just after it's still a bit of a run outside. What's it called? The
Yeah,
transition area.
it's not actually that far, but again, if you're going to wear your like, decide, are you going to wear your bike shoes? Are you going to put your bike shoes on in the changing tent and then have to run with your bike shoes all the way out to your bike, all the way out to the mountain line? Are you going to have your bike shoes clipped into your bike? Are you going to put your bike shoes on when you get over the mountain line? I've done all the above. I've actually never I've never had my shoes clipped into my pedals, but I've actually run in my bare feet or my socks, and I've chosen to get to the mountain line, move over to the right, and then put my shoes on because it is a distance to be running in cycling shoes.
No, absolutely, it does look it. Okay. Great. Bike mount line out and onto Planini Road, and off onto the bike course. Any last minute transition tips for the first timers?
I don't think so. Make sure you put sunscreen on before you leave.
Oh, absolutely. And they
It's
actually
a
mentioned,
long bike ride. It's a long bike ride in the sunshine, so make sure you wear sunscreen.
yeah, I think they actually have a brand of sunscreen that they actually advertise in the Athlete's Guide, which we also encourage you to read. But after watching this video, um, okay, doke. So we'll move on to actually just before we go, just a quick plug for myself and Wendy. As I said, we hope you're getting some great info from this video. As I said, when Wendy's graciously given up her time as a world champion athlete and as a top coach as well. So for me, as I said, if you want to subscribe to the channel, if you want to find out other race reviews and if other courses you're going to qualify for Kona again, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel and like the video. And again, if you want to follow some great sort of was a content from Wendy in terms of even contact her in terms of a potential coach to help you come back and do even better in Kona, that's her Instagram, and you can get in contact her that way. So we won't delay you too more. So subscribe and follow Wendy on Instagram, and you won't regret it. Again, some great content. So on to one of the most famous bike courses on the circuit. Wendy, you want to talk us through a little bit how this is, road surface wise, things to keep an eye out on. How windy is it? Is it as bad as everyone says? And this looks lumpy as a course. So talk us through it.
It can be windy, it cannot be windy. So the first 10-ish miles are going to be in town. You're gonna get out on your bike, you're gonna do a slight left, go around like a Costco. It's very short, and then you're gonna go up onto I forget the name of the road. Oh, Kuakini Highway. And again, if you're there early enough, you should be running or riding to get familiar with the Kuakini Highway. It's right in town, but you're going to do a slight gradual uphill on this Kuakini Highway for about 5 miles. Then there's going to be a turnaround point. You're going to turn down. It's a screaming downhill. Again, with the men or women only, it's not as congested on that bike course, but just be careful on that descent because it is a little bit more cluttered with cyclists. So be careful on that descent. And then you're going to climb up the famous Pelini Drive. It's a hill. It's not, again, it's not that big of a deal, but it could be if you've never run up a hill before. And then you're going to get out on the Queen K. And generally, most often, you have a tailwind on the Queen K until you get to the airport. I think the airport's going to be around 20 miles.
Yeah.
And then once you're past the airport is when it gets to the lava fields and it gets to be a little more open. You're going to feel a little bit more wind. When you get to about mile 35, I think that's really the chances are extremely high that there's going to be crosswinds, headwinds. So even though you're going out, you're going to experience headwinds, crosswinds, and tailwinds on just that out section.
Yeah.
It's so unpredictable. And then on the way back, you could think, oh, I had a headwind all the way out. I should have a tailwind all the way back. Not necessarily. So it's really unpredictable. There have been years like the last year I did it in 2022. Wind was not a factor at all. And I was so thankful because previous years, sometimes I've ridden where I feel like I'm going to get blown off my bike.
Yeah. They banned disc wheels. As disc wheels are not an option in Kona. That's right. That's like so.
Right.
Yeah. And that would, from the sounds of it, with good reason. As I said, if the winds are that unpredictable as well, like it's not something you want to end up how finishing your race. Um,
And
inter
I suggest to people again, depending on how early you get there, check out, take a drive out to the Havi section of the course. That's where all the crosswinds happen.
Hmm.
And ride that section. It's probably mile 50 to mile 65. Ride that section of Havi to kind of get a sense of the hills and the wind.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And for me, as I said, the road surfaces, what are they like? As in all highway, or is there anything of note?
They're pretty much all highway, smooth. You get the whole road. The roads are closed. Um, so, you know, it's just the cyclists and the aid station volunteers out there.
Absolutely. And I was surprised, as I said, we had a quick chat before we actually started the interview. I was surprised at how lumpy in my mind, as I said, from talking to previous athletes, and I thought it was always just a flat course, and there was a couple of little punchy climbs, but from looking to this and talking to it, that's not the case. A lot of rollers in the hills.
Yeah, there's no punchy climbs. There's just these long rollers that get to you on the way back. So they're long rollers on the way out, and they could be brutal if you're riding uphill with this super nasty headwind, or if you're trying to ride downhill with a super nasty headwind, you don't really get that downhill speed. So again, the wind really impacts how hard the hills are going to feel. And then when you get to, again, mile 50 and you start your climb to Havi, it's not a straight up climb. It's kind of a rolling uphill climb. So you're going to be rolling, rolling, rolling. Then you're going to get a little bit, more of a gentler, longer slope. And you're going to see this sign. Pay attention. When you see the sign 7 miles to Havi, that's where it gets really tough. That's where it kind of opens up and allows the wind to potentially knock you over. So again, pay attention to when it says 7 miles to Havi. That's when it could get kind of scary.
Cool.
Both directions.
All right. And again, in terms of any other sort of kind of hot spots that guys need to keep an eye out of, looks like there's lots of aid stations here. It does seem to be was it Morton gels, and also Mortal Hydration will be the drink on course. This might be a bit of a change for the European qualifiers, as we've been drinking Precision Hydration, but I think most of the American qualifiers will have had at least a little bit of exposure to Mortal Hydration if they've raced an
Yeah.
Ironman race this season. Any other key hints or tips you have for athletes racing on this bike course?
Well, first for like your friends and family, there's a hot spot, have them be on Palani Drive, and you'll know what I mean when you get there. Palani Drive and Kuakini Highway is where the most spectators are going to be, because that's where they're going to see athletes like 4 times on the bike and a few times on the run. It's again, Palani Drive and Kuakini Highway is the hot spot for spectators. But as far as like athletes, you know, save your energy for the climb to Havi. Even though it's not straight uphill, it's a challenging, especially with the heat and the wind. Really, if you have power, just stick with your power zones that you planned out, or if you're training riding by heart rate, stick to your heart rate zones. And you're going to get your special needs bag. You're going to get to the top of Javi. You're going to turn around. And right as you turn around, that's where you're going to pick up a special needs bag if you have any special fuel in that bag. Again, it's right before you start the descent, but it still could be very congested and a fast place. So just be careful if you're one that's going to pick up that special needs bag.
Okay, excellent.
And then the way back, you're going to get to mile 80 and then you're going to start, the last 32 miles back into town. That's no matter what, I always have a headwind in that section. So again, you want to know those headwinds places. Just save your energy for the last 32 miles, and mile 90 to 100 can be really brutal. That's where those climbs get really, really difficult.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Okay,
right
cool.
between 90 and 100.
Just where you don't need it. Okay, cool. All right, we move on to next up is transition, where you're going to be coming back in Bellini Road, and there's our bike dismount line. We come down here, it's now what you call it. Do bike to run is B, so the bag's there. That'd be a red bag, similar, and then in across the transition area this time out, and you're coming out the run session and out the run area. Anything
Yeah.
specific that you give for the first timers in terms of a flow of the Kona transition, Wendy?
Well, again, you're going to be so you exited up Palani Drive. Now you're going to be coming down Palani Drive. That's a fast descent. Just be careful. Just be careful on Palani Drive. There's no need to, wipe out. And then you have to dismount. So you have to slow down to the dismount line. There will be a volunteer to take your bike, and
Okay.
then you're just going to be running. You're going to make that long run to get your run bag. You get your run bag, change, plenty of volunteers, put sunscreen on, and then you run out onto the run course.
Cool. Oh yeah, bycatcher again. Well, I'd be surprised they didn't have bycatchers in the rock, being the rock star world champs that they are. But that's good to know. Okay, next up, it's the run course. Um, it is again. I was surprised at some of these. Now again, we've all sort of read Iron War, and we've all sort of watched some of watched Kona itself, and you kind of expect the big hill at the end. This for me, I didn't realize it looked so lumpy. Is it that lumpy or?
It's not that lumpy. Again, the first 5 miles are on Alihi, mostly on Alihi Drive. It's again, slight rolling uphill to mile 5 until you turn around, and then you're going to get a slight rolling downhill. So if you're going to pay attention to pace, you want to be aware of these kind of what false flats. You may not know you're going uphill, but you are. And know that your pace is going to slow down, but know when you turn around, you might pick up your pace because it's going to be slightly rolling downhill. And then around mile 10, again, the course has slightly changed every year that I've done it. Around mile 10, you're going to hit Palani Drive. And that's usually brutal for people. And I've always committed myself, I will never walk up Palani Drive in a race setting because everyone else is.
Yeah.
But that hill could get to you because it comes at like mile 10. And then you're out on the Queen K again. You're out on the where you were just biking. And then usually like there's a slight downhill, and then from mile 11 to 16 is again that rolling uphill feeling that's going to slow you down. It's hot. By this time, you're mid-afternoon, it's going to be hot. And then you go into, they don't, at least in 2022, the last time I did it was the first time we did not run into the official energy lab.
Oh
They
yeah.
had they had another section that was the energy lab. It's very similar to what the official energy lab was. You're around mile 16, then you go down and you do this little loop section, and then you come back out and do your last 10K back into town. And the last 10K, again, pace yourself because that last 10K could be fast because it's a little bit downhill.
Oh yes, you can definitely see that there. Yeah. Um, and what about this little bad boy at the end? Just
I,
as
I don't know I'm looking at that. I have no idea what that is because you're going to come down again towards the end, you're going to come down Palani Drive, and then you have to make a left onto the Kuakini Highway, and you have to go maybe another mile before you get back on Alihi Drive to the finish. So what is that hill? Maybe that hill is the ramp to the finish line because there's really no hill like that on Alihi Drive when you're coming to the finish at all.
Okay, maybe they're trying in a sneaky little turn at the end. So, any other hints and tips for our for again first timers on the run course? Anything to take
Again,
advantage of?
have your nutrition plan beforehand. Plan how much you're going to eat, how much you're going to hydrate with, the energy drink or water or both. I have a system that's worked for me over the years. I like pretzels. I loved Gatorade when they had it on the course. I have not done an Ironman since they switched, so I'm fortunate that I don't know what the other products are like, but make sure you have a plan. Don't pass up an aid station. Even if you don't drink the water, make sure you're keeping yourself cool. It's all about keeping yourself cool at this race. The people who can cool themselves down the most are going to be most successful.
Yeah, definitely about heat management. And again, there's lots of water markers there as well. And
Ice.
again, just sort of like there's easier ways of keeping yourself cool than just drinking water. There's putting it down the top because there'll be ice, put it in your cap and all the rest, and just sort of our sponges and take advantage of everything that you can. I don't think there's an awful lot of shade to run on the run course, so that's not an option. But again, sunglasses, visor, cap, all those sort of good things that to try and keep the core temperature down, as you said, will end up being key to success.
Yeah, so Kona could have a lot of bog
Oh,
from
okay.
the volcano. And so what may look like a chance of rain is just the fog, and the fog could come over again on that run course and create the sauna like feel. There's this fog, you just want it to rain, but it's not going to rain because it's not a rain cloud, it's fog. And that can in a way cool you down because it blocks the sun, and at the same time it just creates a sauna feel. So kind of be aware of that.
Okay, good to know. Alrighty, and this is what it's all about. This is the World Championship finish line. I'm pretty sure there's no better feeling in Ironman when you actually cross that line. How did it feel when you crossed the line yourself? Did you know you'd won in 2008, or was it a
So I did. So I was having the marathon of my life, and I was a little disappointed in my bike time because I knew if I want number one, I wanted to be first amateur out of the water, which I was. And then I just wanted to pace myself on the bike, which I did, but I was a 10 minutes slower on the bike than what I thought I was going to be. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to really run really fast if I want to break 10 hours. And I was so fit that year. I was just cruising 7:30 pace and just kind of cruising along, feeling good. My mom told me, she's like, how do you feel? I'm like, I feel awesome, and I didn't believe my watch. I did
yeah.
not believe I was running that fast because it didn't feel that hard. And then, I had to work my way up because I wasn't first off the bike. But, I was just kind of clicking off women, age groups. It was really before calf sleeves, so you could see people's age number on their calf. And when I went into the energy lab, one of my friends from Colorado was on her mountain bike cruising the course. And she told me where I was at. And I think going into the energy lab, which is about mile 16, she told me I was in fourth. And then I came out of the energy lab and she's like, there's one female ahead of you. Again, I didn't believe her because I'm like, no way, like, really? So I could see this female. I passed her at mile 21 and I just ran. I mean, I didn't look back. I just ran. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I get to mile 23 and I'm like, oh, I just don't cramp up. Because mile 23, there's a little hill and I felt like I was on the verge of a cramp. But I was still feeling like I can maintain the decent pace. I run down Palani again. I'm like, don't cramp, don't cramp. And then when I got to Leahy Drive, like the last half mile, I knew I'm like, okay, I sprinted into the finish. I
Were
knew
you
I had
looking back
won.
at all? Or did you hear
No,
it? Or you just were going, if I
I
keep
didn't
ahead, that's my
look
game.
back at all. Because again, I still didn't believe I was in first. Even though my friend Carrie told me there was one female ahead of me, I'm like, she could have been wrong, Run your own race. I ran my own race, but I knew that last half mile, I knew I had some energy left to kick it in gear. Came across the finish line first. But again, my parents were there. I didn't have any other friends, family. My coach was working at the venue, so I didn't have him to like talk to when I finished. It was just a really, really, really super surreal experience for me that year. And then, I was telling people the next day, and then I go to the banquet, and they announced me as the overall amateur champion, and I'm like, oh my God, this is just so weird. It's just an interesting experience for me. But again, this is back in 2008. Here we are, 2024, and I could still live the experience.
But
It
also
was great.
still
I had like
racing.
the perfect day.
Yeah, but still kind of active, like still coaching, like as in like what it is a strange sport. As in our sport is hard, but like it's very addictive still. Like as in like there's a lot of people who have done that who will who will win their local park or their local park run or 10K and retire. Whereas we keep on coming back for more, and there's just
Right.
such a it's such a great feeling when races go well, and it sounds brilliant actually. I don't think I'll ever experience it, but it's great to hear how it went. Okay, some
Well,
other
let
things.
me tell you, the next year, because I won, I already automatically qualified for 2009. That year, I had some GI distress. I swallowed quite a lot of salt water, had a lot of GI distress. I was in the portage on every mile of the marathon. So I pretty much walked the marathon the next year. So it was a completely opposite experience, but just as rewarding. Again, it's always rewarding to cross the finish line, especially in Kona.
Oh, absolutely. Oh no, but again, fair play. Okay, so some other things that we'll talk to just before we go through some highlights, some key race events that Wendy will recommend you make sure you do not miss. Um, just some other stuff. Again, normally in videos I talk about some nutrition stuff here, some how to taper. You guys are watching our Kona qualifiers. You don't need to be told how to taper about your nutrition, but some items in the videos that you might be useful, a packing checklist that is downloadable from my site, last minute tips of things you may not have thought of. So those videos are in the links below. Make sure you check them out. The race timetable. So it's obviously a lot more elaborate than your standard Ironman, because there's a lot going on. Like they only allow was it people will be arriving a fair few weeks in advance to acclimatize, especially Europeans. We do that. What do you recommend that they have to do and what they should not miss out on in the days leading up to the race, Wendy?
Well, I already mentioned the Hoala training swim the Saturday before race day.
Oh, just on
If
a
it's
Sunday. It's on a Sunday this year, actually. Was it the
Oh, it's on Sunday. Okay, Sunday.
Yeah.
Um, maybe it's always on a Sunday. I think I always remember on a Saturday. But either way, if you can still get into that swim and you're going to be there, I highly recommend that swim. I think the fun run was usually that right after that swim, but they're not going to have the fun run. They're having the fun run Saturday.
Yeah.
But definitely, don't miss out on that swim. Pick up your packet early. I think the earlier you can pick up your packet and kind of get that out of the way, the better your stress level is going to be. I usually pick up my packet that Monday.
Yep.
And again, the volunteers are great. There's usually no line to pick up your packet. You usually just get there at the time you're supposed to get there. You go through a series of tables that you have to go to. They may weigh you in. I think they start to weigh you in the morning of, but they may weigh you in at packet pickup
Hmm.
just in case you have an issue on the race day. They want to know your pre-race weight and post-race weight if you have any issues. So here we are, Tuesday. Definitely don't miss the Parade of Nations, whether you want to be a spectator or you want to be in the Parade of Nations. That's really fun because the whole town of Kona really gets involved and supportive. And the Parade of Nation ends at the expo. So that's when the official expo opens, and that's really chaotic and really a lot of people. So, just don't have any plans, just take your time through the expo. Usually in Kona, I go to the expo Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I usually kind of go every day just to see if there's anything new. And usually at the expos throughout the week, at the expo area, they'll have professional guest speakers, at like noon, 1 and 2 o'clock in the afternoon that you can go to. So if you want to plan your expo visit around a pro who's speaking about a specific topic,
Oh, wow.
that's usually pretty fun. There's been years where they've had like endless pools. I don't know if that's always the brand, but you have an opportunity to swim in an endless pool. One time I got to swim a Michael Phelps pace. If I lasted his pace for like 10 seconds, I won a t-shirt or something like that. So that
Not
was
the
kind
end.
of
You don't
fun.
win the endless pool, do you?
I don't own one, no.
No, I was about to say, did you win it? If you lasted
Oh,
20
no,
seconds.
no, no. I would love to win one though. It'd be awesome. So try to do the expo earlier in the week and get everything you need. And don't you just don't want to be walking around and doing too much, especially like Thursday, Friday, the 2 days before the race. So try to get all that stuff in early. Wednesday, I always have my athletes do an easy spin, usually like the Kuakini Highway Loop, and then get in the water and then be done for the day. Kind of do your training early. And then Thursday, definitely don't miss out on the underpants run. That happens at 7:30 in the morning. That's a tradition. That's really fun. Again, even if you're not someone who wants to participate, at least go down and spectate. A lot of times if you think you're going to spectate, you end up jumping in it anyways. They will be there's usually a table at the expo that I'll be have it's a donation. So if you pay, like $10 donation to again, this kids fundraiser, then you can get a visor, you can get a pair of underpants that have the Kona Underpants Run logo on it, or you can get a pair of socks that have the Kona Underpants Run logo on it. So for that $10 donation, you're still getting a little bit of swag.
Nice.
Again, you can deal with that at the expo on Tuesday evening.
And you've got to come
Get
back with
that
as much
rented.
swag with Kona on it as possible. It seems to be every person that's gone to Kona comes back adorned with Kona tops. But listen,
Yeah,
it's the bragging rights that you bragging rights that no one else can overcome. So
for
100%
sure.
this.
Not everyone in the world gets to go. So, again, if it's your first time going, I would go to the welcome banquet that happens on Thursday. Tickets are expensive. You may have to buy your ticket early for friends and family, but it's worth going. If this is your first time going to Kona,
Yeah.
if you don't think you'll ever coming back, definitely take advantage of the welcome banquet. You'll hear a lot of inspirational things going on there. And after the banquet meal, they'll have like a pre-race meeting, but the pre-race meeting is exactly what's in the packet. So I don't recommend you have to stay for that because they basically just go over the participant
Yeah.
packet that you're already going to have ahead of time. Go home and go to bed after your welcome banquet meal. It's decent food, you know, even
Okay.
for someone who used to be a vegan, it was decent. I had a nice meal. It was fine. And then Friday, obviously, that's when you're going to take your bike and gear and check all that in. Just stay out of the heat, stay off your legs.
Do they send out, will give you assigned slots to check in the bike, or how's that work?
Yeah, usually it's assigned slots, I think according to the first initial of your last name.
Okay.
And again, that'll be in the athlete guide.
Fab. Okay, cool. And it all starts off at what you call it, 6:40 for our age groupers. And then fabulous. Any last minute tips to the guys? Guys and girls, we're hoping that people are watching this video as and when it's a female start as well. Um last
I
minute
mean,
tips.
again, Kono's the reward for qualifying. Just really go and enjoy it. Go to finish, have a good time, smile, hands up when you cross the finish line. If you're not having the day you want to have, it's okay. You're in Hawaii. I remember the first year I went in 1997. I never run a marathon before. My longest run was 16 miles. So I was really scared of the marathon. But I always promised myself, no matter what happens, whether you're walking or running or crawling, who cares? You're in Hawaii. Enjoy the sunset while you're out there. And sunset happens usually every night at around 6 p.m. So try to enjoy every sunset you can. Enjoy the sunset. If you're out in the energy lab at that time, just go really enjoy the surroundings because you may not ever get to go back. It may
Yeah.
be a one and done thing.
Absolutely. Could be a one and done, but again, if you've got here, you've worked bloody hard, you've got to milk that moment. No, absolutely brilliant. And just I want to thank you a million times again, as in you're so generous with your time, and there's some amazing tips in that, and it's brilliant to actually have. I'm getting goosebumps even just thinking about like was it your first like your stories when you're telling about it. It's brilliant you brought it to life. I know that this is going to help athletes of even first timers or people going back. So for me, thank you ever so much, Wendy. And for you guys, I hope you enjoyed that. And by the way, if please do feel to reach out to Wendy. As she may said, you may not get the day you think you deserve in Kona, or if you want to improve your time or anything, reach out to her. She's an absolute belter of a coach, as we would say here in Ireland. She knows so much. She's got from a personal experience. She's got a whole heap of successful athletes in her stable. If you're lucky, she might be able to take you on again. So there's Wendy's um, details. Please ping her an email if you'd like to even or even just last minute questions. She, as you can see, she's a very generous lady with her time. It's not often you get like was it world champions to come on and just sit and randomly talk to an Irish guy trying to grow his YouTube channel. So Wendy, again, thank you ever so much. And to
Thank
the
you for
rest of the
having me.
now, always a pleasure. And again, for the rest of you guys, best of luck in Kona. As Wendy said, enjoy it. You're in Hawaii. It's your reward for a lot of hard work. And we stop.